Hello guys, today we will see the explanation of the lesson The Sermon at Benares. So this is the lesson, this is the story about Gautam Buddha, and this is very interesting story. So let's see the introduction means that throws this lesson throws light upon the early life of Lord Buddha, who was originally born as a prince in the royal family, and on being exposed to the sufferings of the world which he was earlier shielded from, and he left his priesthood and went in search of salvation, thus leaving all the worldly pleasures behind. And upon attaining spiritual awakening, he gave his first sermon in the city of Benares, and hereby making a lady named Kisa Gutami realize that men are mortal and a wise person should not grieve at what is bound to happen, for it only enhances pain and suffering. So here let's see the explanation. We can do it pairwise. Gautam Buddha 563 BC to 483 BC began life as a prince named Siddhartha Gautam in northern India. At 12, he was sent away for schooling in the Hindu sacred scriptures, and 4 years later, he returned home to marry a princess. They had a son and lived for 10 years as befitted royalty. At about the age of 25, the prince, heretofore shielded from the sufferings of the world, while out hunting, chanced upon a sick man, then an aged man, then a funeral procession, and finally a monk begging for alms. These sights so moved him that he at once went out into the world to seek enlightenment concerning the sorrows he had witnessed. So here, sacred means the law, or we can say the law of a religion. Befitted means be appropriate for. Alms is the money or food given to the poor people, and enlightenment is the state of high spiritual knowledge. So Gautam Buddha was born to a northern India. He belongs to North Indian royal family as a prince, and was named Siddharth Gautam. And he was also sent to a far away place, and he was only 12 years old to study Hindu sacred scriptures. And upon returning for 4 years later, he got married to a princess, and soon they both had a son, and they continued to live the royal life for about 10 years. And the royals were shielded from all the unpleasant experiences of the world until the prince met a sick man, an aged man, or a funeral procession, and a monk looking for alms. These experiences acted as eye openers for him, and thus he left all the royalty behind to seek a higher sense of spiritual knowledge. Okay. He wandered for 7 years and finally sat down under a peepal tree, where he vowed to stay until enlightenment came. Enlightened after 7 days, he renamed the tree the Bodhi tree, the tree of wisdom, and began to share his new understandings. At that point, he became known as the Buddha, means the awakened or the enlightened. The Buddha preached his first sermon at the city of Benares, most holy of the dipping places on the river Gangas. That sermon has been preserved and is given here, and it reflects the Buddha's wisdom about one inscrutable kind of suffering. So here, wandered means to move without a fixed course. Vowed is solemnly promise to a specified thing, and sermon is a talk on religious or moral subject. Holy is sacred. Dipping place means bathing place. Inscrutable means something which cannot be understood. So here Gautam Buddha went in search of enlightenment for about 7 years, and before he finally came across a peepal tree and chose to sit under it till he became awakened. When he finally attained salvation after 7 days, he decided to retitle the tree as a Bodhi tree, which means the tree of wisdom, and he himself came to be known as Buddha, which means the awakened. And he even began preaching his new realizations, and his first sermon was given in the city of Benares. And the city of Benares is known to be a sacred, as it resides on the bank of river Ganga, and the first sermon he gave was preserved and is still famous till date. And it is given below as well, and it gives a new perspective to man's unending sufferings. So let's move to the next paragraph. Kisagutami had an only son, and he died in her grief. She carried the dead child to all the neighbors, asking them for medicine, and the people said, she has lost her senses, the boy is dead. At length, Kisagutami met a man who replied to her request and cannot give the medicine for the child, but I know a physician who can. And the girl said, pray tell me, sir, who is it? And the man replied, go to Sakya Muni, the Buddha. Kisagutami repaired to the Buddha and cried, Lord and Master, give me the medicine that will cure my boy. So here it talks about a lady named Kisagutami whose son had recently died, and struck with unending pain and sorrow, he took her son door to door requesting for a wonder drug that could bring his son back to life. And quite obviously everyone thought that the lady had lost her ability to think clearly, and going on from door to door, she finally came across a man who couldn't offer any medicine, but led her to Sakya Muni, the Buddha. And filled with hope, the lady visited Gautam Buddha and begged him for a cure for her child. So the Buddha answered, I want a handful of mustard seeds. And when the girl in her joy promised to procure it, the Buddha added, the mustard seeds must be taken from a house where no one has lost a child, husband, parent or friend. So here, just as the man said Gautam Buddha had a solution, he asked Kisagutami to get a handful of mustard seeds, and restored with that lady with restored with hope, and that what we can say, Kisagutami thought it to be a very simple task, until Lord Buddha instilled a condition that the mustard seeds must be taken from a house where no one has lost a child, husband, parent or friend. So that is a difficult task for Kisagutami. So poor Kisagutami now went from house to house, and the people pitied her and said, here is mustard seed, take it. But when she asked, did a son or a daughter, a father or mother die in your family? They answered her, alas, the living are few, but the dead are many. Do not remind us of our deepest grief, and there was no house, but some beloved one had died in it. So once again, then Kisagutami went from door to door, but this time she was looking for mustard seeds, and many had mustard seeds to offer, but none of them could fulfill Lord Buddha's condition of having seen no death in the family. Upon being asked, people requested her not to remind them of their deepest grief, and unfortunately she couldn't find a suitable home to get mustard seeds for his son. So let's move to next paragraph. Kisagutami became very weary and hopeless, and sat down at the wayside watching the lights of city as they flickered up and were extinguished again. At last the darkness of the night reigned everywhere, and she considered the fate of men, and their lives flicker up and are extinguished again. And she thought to herself, how selfish am I in my grief? Death is common to all, yet in this valley of desolation there is a path that leads into immortality. Who had surrendered all selfishness? So here all the hope was lost for Kisagotami, and thus in extreme anguish and pain she found herself a place to ponder at the edge of the road, and she continuously watched city lights blinking and observed them till there was just darkness all around. After deep reflection, what she realized that man's fate was just like these city lights that flicker and extinguish repeatedly. The cycle of birth and death is nature's way of working. So, suddenly she became conscious as to how selfish she had been in her sorrow, and that one who was born must rest eternally. Men are mortal, and the ones that are immortals have covered a path free from all worldly pleasures. So, let's see next paragraph. The Buddha said, "The life of mortals in this world is troubled and brief, and combined with pain, for there is not any means by which those that have been born can avoid dying. After reaching old age, there is death. Of such a nature are living beings. As ripe fruits are early in danger of falling, so mortals, when born, are always in danger of death. As all earthen vessels made by the potter end in being broken, so is the life of mortals, both young and adult, both those who are fools and those who are wise. All fall into the power of death. All are subject to death." So, here, according to Lord Buddha, the life of mortals is troubled, even they have not made peace with the fact, and that the one who is born must rest eternally, and there is no way a living being can avoid facing death. Just like a ripe fruit is more prone to falling, an aged mortal is bound to die, just like all earthen vessels break at some point, so do men. Whether old or young, foolish or wise, death leaves none. Of those who overcome by death depart from life. A father cannot save his son, nor kinsmen their relations. Mark. While relatives are looking on and lamenting deeply, one by one mortals are carried off like an ox that is led to the slaughter. So the world is afflicted with death and decay. Therefore, the wise do not grieve knowing the terms of the world. So here the meaning of kinsman is a man who is one of a person's blood relations, and lamenting means express regret or disappointment about something. Slaughter is a person who is killing animals for food. Afflicted means affect adversely. The only way death works is by withdrawing the person from the living world, that is, the person ceases to exist. No one has control over death, and neither a father can save his son nor a kinsman his relative. Just like an ox is taken to the slaughterhouse to be killed, so does death do with mortals, leaving none behind. Thus, the one who knows the truth and doesn't grieve at his loss is the one who has been called wise by Lord Buddha. So, not from weeping nor from grieving will anyone obtain peace of mind. On the contrary, his pain will be greater and his body will suffer. He will make himself sick and pale. Yet the dead are not saved by his lamentation. He who seeks peace should draw out the arrow of lamentation and complaint and grief. He who has drawn out the arrow and has become composed will obtain peace of mind. He who has overcome all sorrows will become free from sorrow and be blessed. So here, according to Lord Buddha, one should not grieve, weep, or be miserable at something which is bound to happen, for it will keep man away from obtaining peace of mind. It will only multiply the pain and suffering, thus leading to physical weakness, and moreover, no amount of grief would bring back the dead. So, it is very important to understand that one must move past feelings like sorrow and grief, as it is only way that leads to the path of salvation. So the lesson is over, and I hope it will be helpful for you all guys. Thanks for watching. Like, share and subscribe my channel. Thank you.